My name is Lawrence Watkins and with the Black Financial Channel, and welcome to the Financial Juneteenth 5. These are my 5 favorite articles as it relates to Black finance, wealth, and business for today, October 2nd, 2020. Let's go ahead and get started. So the first article comes from the Harvard Gazette. I believe that is the student newspaper of Harvard University. And it is how to be an anti-racist nonprofit or company. It is a featured interview with brother Khalil Gibran Muhammad, who I believe actually is the grandson of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, but is talking about systematic racism and the concept of anti-racism. So the institute that he is working with is the Institutional Anti-Racism and Accountability Project, a research initiative of the Shorenstein Center at Harvard Kennedy School, studies the efficacy of steps that such organizations take to become more diverse and inclusive. It goes on, and Muhammad explains a little bit more about the IARA project, and he says it is a research project whose goal is to collect evidence of what's working and not working, largely in the private and nonprofit sectors, where claims of diversity and inclusion or equity and belonging seem to fall short of changing the norms and practices of the organization. Later on in that same paragraph, he states, we do have a second phase of the project, which will be to identify a sample of organizations whose efforts at adopting equity and inclusion interventions are working, and then to test or audit whether their claims of success actually hold up or further scrutiny. And that part is not underway yet. So he defines racial equity. This is interesting from Muhammad. He states racial equity, as we define it, would be policies, practices, and procedures that do not perpetuate discrimination or forms of bias in the workplace or in the business model itself. The classic example would be working for a company that advances predatory financial services in low-income communities of color. One of the highlighted quotes in talking about these types of organizations and nonprofits and companies, some of the research suggests that companies have no intention of doing anything more than passing a symbolic litmus test. That is, in that litmus test is, how do we look? This article is interesting. He goes on to talk a little bit about the primary obstacles to racial equity in the workplace. Is a sin of commission, omission, or both? And he says basically it's all of the above. And so this is a very interesting article from the Harvard Gazette. I believe actually right now, later in the interview, it talks about that, I believe, or maybe it's at the beginning. But there's actually a day-long conference going on right now in the online event service called Hopin. So if it's before 4 p.m. Eastern time and you're still watching this, maybe you can go in there for a couple minutes and actually check it out. The next article comes from the Network Journal, which I believe is a Black-owned corporate publication based out of New York City. So it states 7 high-ranking Black women leave Wells Fargo. And this story is interesting. The reason this story is, so some of my things didn't save, my highlights, but the reason this story is interesting is all of the news talking about the current CEO of the organization, who basically said there is a lack of Black talent out there. So this article really is talking about them not nurturing their Black talent, where over the past 12 months, 7 high-ranking Black women have actually left the organization. 2 people with direct knowledge, let me see here. So 2 people with direct knowledge of that matter say the bank's culture and around race and gender was a factor in why some of the Black women left. This is right here, Sharf is the name. I believe his first name is Peter, or Charlie, excuse me. The unfortunate reality is that there is a very limited pool of Black talent to recruit from with this specific experience. And the article then goes on to talk a little bit more about unconscious bias. One thing that really stood out to me in this article is the fact that I believe Sharf hired Jamie Dimon's son-in-law. Jamie Dimon is over JP Morgan Chase. So he's probably, or not probably, he is one of the most powerful men in the world at the moment because of his position of running the nation's largest bank. Um, let's see, multiple executives fumed too when Scharf, let me just highlight that. Multiple executives fumed too when Scharf hired Jamie Dimon's son-in-law, Connor Tolkien, for a role that reported directly to Scharf. But it's interesting because the article also states that that's how Scharf got into the door is because Jamie Dimon hired him, years before. So you see how those networks keep coming back in play, and it's all about who you know. And these circles, they're kind of incestuous where, once you're in, you're kind of in, but if you're not in, it's very difficult to actually get in. The article stated or said that Family Connections helped Scharf get his first job under Diamond at Commercial Credit, the consumer finance firm that Diamond and Sandy Will marshaled into Citicorp. Scharf was the first person the company had hired directly from college in years. So we see how all of that kind of works. This middle managed paragraph, if I remember correctly, was interesting too. Wells Fargo says that it's working to fix the bank's struggles with race and gender. It announced a series of changes over the summer to improve diversity, including tying diversity progress to executive compensation, requiring diverse candidates for all jobs paying more than $100,000 per year, and introducing an anti-racism and unconscious bias training for managers. But of course, they're still doing terrible on this front. So as of January, only 2.8% of executive or senior level officials within the company are Black. So so that talks a little bit more about why these 7 high-ranking Black women left Wells Fargo. The article did not say all 7 left because of this, but some actually did. The next article comes from Black Enterprise, and it's about a partnership between Unity National Bank, and they partner with Bank of America to strengthen its support to the community. So Unity National Bank of Houston, the only Black-owned bank in Texas, has announced Bank of America has acquired approximately 5% of its common equity. According to, where is that at? Lost my spot. Here we go. According to a Thursday release, the investment will facilitate benefits to communities Unity serves through lending, housing, neighborhood revitalization, and other banking services. The investment is part of Bank of America's pledge to direct equity investments in minority depository institutions as a part of a broader $1 billion 4-year commitment to address the racial and economic inequalities that have been exacerbated by the coronavirus pandemic. Additionally, Bank of America allocated $300 million to Black businesses and Black banks last month. So Harold Ogle, the Houston market president of Bank of America, stated, the investment Bank of America is making in Unity, as well as other MDIs, is part of our commitment to the advancing racial equality and economic opportunity as we work to create more pathways to employment and provide more support for minority entrepreneurs. So I think this is good news in terms of the corporate dollars keep flowing to Black banks and other types of organizations. So check this article out in Black Enterprise when you have a moment. The fourth article today comes from the Miami Times Online. So the Miami Times is a Black-owned media publication, of course, out of Miami. It states, AKA reaches fundraising goal for HBCU gifts. Looks like my highlights got lost in this article too, but basically they raised $1.3 million, according to Dr. Glenda Glover, who is the CEO and president of AKA internationally. So they raised more than $1 million in 24 hours to benefit HBCUs. And I believe that they're giving this money out in $50,000 chunks to different HBCUs that are out there. And this is an annual impact day for HBCUs, as it states here. It happened, I guess, a couple of weeks ago on September 21st. It states here also HBCU. Here we go. Let me highlight that for you. HBCU Day or Impact Day is one part of a 4-year, $10 million fundraising goal set by Glover, who has challenged the women of AKA to lead the charge in helping to secure financial or fiscal sustainability and success for accredited HBCUs around the country. So congratulations and thank you for the AKAs for your support in this endeavor in terms of raising money for our Black-owned institutions. All right, the next article comes from Allure magazine. And it states Sephora, which is one of the largest beauty brands in the world. Sephora's 2021 incubation program will focus on Black-owned brands. The mass beauty retailer announced that basically, the brands can apply for this incubator program. So earlier, the Sephora announced that they already pledged to dedicate 15% of its shelf space to Black-owned beauty brands. In this new announcement, the mass beauty retailer is promising to kick off 2021 with an exclusive focus on brands founded and owned by people of color. This is an important shift that Sephora says is a refreshed version of its Accelerate Incubation program. So the past 5 years, they focus on women-owned brands. This is the first time that they're focusing on Black-owned brands. And you can find out more if you fit into this category, SephoraAccelerate.com. That's SephoraAccelerate.com is where you can actually learn more. And to be eligible, you must be a person of color who owns makeup, skincare, fragrance, wellness, hair, or accessory brand, be based in the United States, and be at least 18 years old. So the link to this article will also be in the description as well. The last is just an informative, type of article in terms of the 5 myths keeping Black Americans from buying life insurance. So it states here from a New York Life survey that nearly 80% of all Black Americans said that having life insurance is a goal for them, versus 63% of all adults. More than 90% of Black Americans said they believe life insurance helps future generations succeed. And then a guy by the name of Delvin Joyce, a financial planner with Prudential, gave his 5 myths for this in terms of why more Black people aren't buying life insurance. So number 1, final expenses only. So life insurance is only meant for death. So that's one myth. Myth number 2, no handouts. So that's interesting in terms of what he meant by that. I have to do a little bit more research in terms of what he meant by that particular myth. Myth number 3, I already have life insurance policy. Myth number 4, it's only for my beneficiary. And myth number 5, getting a $5 million plan is actually too much as well. So that was actually one extra article, but I wanted to make sure I included that in regards to life insurance today. Let me know what you all think about today's segment. If anything stuck out to you, please make sure you comment about it. And also, more generally, let me know what you think about the Financial Juneteenth 5. So this is a test run. We'll be doing this for about 4 to 6 weeks to see if you all actually like this type of segment. But if you do, let me know in comments, and also ways that you think that we can improve this segment to benefit you more and to help you in what you need for you and your family. So before you get out of here, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. On behalf of the Black Financial Channel, my name is Lawrence Watkins. Take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.